My brain's on vacation.
Oh my God, me too. I have one more day of work left and then I'm out. And I'm very excited because I am going to be warm.
We are live.
Fantastic. Hello. Welcome everyone to our final Stitch and Bitch of 2025. It's just the three of us here today. Rhea is being festive because it is winter solstice, and Bree is out. But you know, we are the three of us, and it should be fun. I know I have quite a bit to talk about, so why don't we introduce ourselves? My name's Diana. This is my channel, Bookish Di. I read SFF, but lately I've been doing a lot of nonfiction, and I will pass it over to Rachel.
I'm Rachel. My channel is Colonati, where I used to talk about books, but now I just do this. I read lots of science fiction, fantasy, nonfiction, and a little bit of like historical mysteries right now.
Kelsey?
I'm Kelsey. My channel is The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. I read almost exclusively SFF. And I am coming up on the 10-year anniversary of my BookTube channel.
That's a big anniversary.
Yeah. And I need to pre-film a video to go live on that day because I will still be traveling. And yeah, I have like 2 videos I need to pre-film before I leave town, and I've been procrastinating both of them.
Oh.
Nothing gives you motivation like having to do it last minute before you have to travel.
That's me and cleaning my apartment.
I have to do that too because the apartment has to look good enough for the cat sitter.
Exactly.
Of course.
And like, I don't want to come home to a dirty apartment. So today after Stitch and Bitch, you know, I'm going to eat lunch and then I'm going to be doing some cleaning. So what is everyone crafting today? Rachel, do you want to show off first?
Well, I am attempting to crochet today, which anybody who's crocheted knows there's a lot of counting involved. So this may be an epic failure on my part if I'm trying to talk while also counting, but I have become a little obsessed with crocheting monsters, and I'm working on this little dude today.
Aww.
He's very egg-shaped. He's got buck teeth, and I gotta work on his tail and then all of his limbs. So
that's cute.
Just random stuff to use up leftover yarn.
Kelsey, are you working on anything today?
Yeah, so this is a project that I was supposed to have done by now because I thought it was going to be Christmas gifts for people, but I am only starting it now. So I think it's Christmas is for people next year. Where I was like, I want to do fun little embroidery hoop Christmas ornaments for people. And I have to apologize because like I was going to send you these little Christmas ornaments that I haven't made yet as your Christmas gifts, and then I have not done it yet. So maybe you will get some belated Christmas mail.
I mean, Christmas in July is a thing, right?
Yeah. So, because I'm not doing cards this year, I just got overwhelmed. I feel like there's only so much I can do for Christmas any given year, and I hit that threshold for me like pretty quick this year. Anyways, so what I'm doing is I am salvaging part of this shirt. The last time I wore this shirt, it just absolutely ripped apart, and I was like, okay, that's the end of this shirt. But it's got this fun like ruffle pin tuck textured situation on the front, so that's the material I want to use for these, and then like do some pine needle, holly, sparkle situation. And it's going to hopefully be only like a little bit of actual embroidery, and it's just going to look fancy because of the textured fancy fabric thing I'm using.
That's cool.
That's
Works
the goal.
smarter, not harder.
First, I am ripping the buttons off of the shirt to salvage them for potential future use. Because once I'm done with this, I am just throwing away what remains of this shirt.
Well, and you can't have too many spare buttons.
Right.
Sure.
And these are all just plain white buttons, and that's what I never have. Like, I need just neutral buttons for things, and everything is bright colors.
Let me hold on. Yeah. So, and I am working on a new project. It's a shawl. Shocking. But last month I went to a yarn swap and I got some like really nice Malabrigo lace yarn for free. And so I started knitting the shawl, and let's see if you can get.
Ooh, lace.
Yeah. And so this isn't my color, but my Grammy did see me knitting. She's like, well, you haven't made me anything. I'm like, well, Grammy, like I've offered and you've never said anything. She's like, okay, well, this looks really pretty and it's soft. So this isn't going to be ready by the next time I see her, but I will mail it to her when it's finished and blocked.
Nice.
And we have our first kitty cat. She's here. She's chunky.
Oh,
She's terrible child. All right. Hello, Mr. Rorsu. Happy to have you. Yeah, so what's everyone been reading? And maybe because it is our last Stitch and Bitch of the year, maybe like what were some of the standout books that you read this year? Maybe like a low light book if you're feeling spicy.
Oh my gosh, I have to look at my story graph.
I mean, we can start with just what we've read since the last time we got together.
got quite a bit.
I can start. I don't have a ton. I have books that kind of go together. So, so the last 2 live shows, I think I've talked about the Jane Austen inspired historical mystery series, which the protagonists who investigate murders are Juliet Tilney, who is the daughter of Catherine from Northanger Abbey, and Jonathan Darcy is obviously the son of Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet. They meet at a terrible house party where Mr. Wickham shows up and finally gets what's coming to him. And I've spent 4 books now realizing that they like each other. And isn't it cool to be around somebody who just gets you? And doesn't it suck that we live in Regency England where we're not allowed to be in the same room alone together? Also, Jonathan Darcy, and I've said this before, he is so autistic. Very, very. So yeah, I read 2 more books in this series, and they were The Perils of Lady Catherine de Bourgh, in case anybody really wants to read about Lady Catherine de Bourgh being offed. That is not this book, but you really, really, really hope that it is by the end. And then I read the latest one, which is the Rushworth family plot. I don't remember the Rushworths at all. I assume they were from Sense and Sensibility. Or...
No, they're Mansfield Park.
Mansfield Park. That's right.
Yeah. So the Rushfords were so Fanny, her cousin Mariah, married Mr. Rushworth.
Yes.
Like a very
happy
now.
And
then she like went off with Henry Crawford, and it was like this huge scandal. And so Mr. Rushworth divorced her, and she got like set aside with her Aunt Norris, who's like the fucking worst.
I continue to enjoy the ongoing plot in the series, which is, come on, for the love of God, let Juliet and Jonathan court each other. Like, come on. In the latest one, with the Rushworths, there's too much of Fanny, who is Fanny, and there's quite a bit of Rushworths being terrible. So, yeah.
Yeah. I recently reread Mansfield Park, and like it's so like it's so fucking bleak. Like I just find that book to be like the bleakest Jane Austen.
The more I read this particular series, the less I wish to ever return to Mansfield Park. I just can't with Fanny. Anyway, I'm really enjoying the series, and the 5th book is coming out next year. So at some point, these two kids who really like each other will be able to get married and continue investigating murders because they're good at that. I also read the 2 latest books by T. Kingfisher, which I have very different opinions on.
Oh, interesting.
I have Hemlock and Silver, and the most recent one that just came out is Snake Eater. Hemlock and Silver is Tor, and I didn't realize this until it came, but Snake Eater is like 47 North, the Amazon imprint, which I don't think she published with them, and not since Seventh Bride or something like that.
Yeah, Seventh Bride.
I have no idea why Snake Eater wasn't picked up by her usual publishers. Like, genuinely no clue why she had to shop it around so much to find a home for it. I really loved Snake Eater, and it's probably not a surprise. Anybody who's like followed Ursula Vernon a lot, she has mentioned before that The Wood Wife by Terry Windling is one of her most formative books she ever read. It's set in like the American Southwest. It's a fantasy, features some of the mythology of that area and stuff. That book is fantastic. And when I read the description of this book when it was going to come out, I was like, oh yeah, Ursula Vernon finally wrote the book, basically her version of The Wood Wife. That's probably a terrible way to put it. But yeah, Roadrunners are freaking terrifying, and you don't want them in your house. And no matter what you do, no matter how smart you think you're being, do not become carnally entangled with the Roadrunner god. He's a piece of work.
I have a question about that book specifically.
Yes.
Which is it horror? And if so, how much?
It's Vernon's style of horror, which is that there are a couple of scenes of animal-inspired creepiness.
Okay, because I was seeing the description that was calling it horror-tinged fantasy, which I think I can do, but I haven't liked her actual horror.
Yeah.
Like, she writes fantasy that has horror elements that I like, but I haven't liked her actual horror.
Okay. I would classify this as a fantasy novel first.
Okay.
It just has some moments of creepiness. So,
okay.
Yeah. But if you don't like this one, you can always go read The Wood Wife, because I think you would really like that, Kelsey.
I've owned that book for so many years, and I still haven't read it.
Read it. I put it off for a long time, too, and then was like, wow, this is as good as everybody says it is. So, yeah, Snake Eater. I think there's some more world building in this that maybe didn't need to be there. It's kind of implied that it's slightly futuristic, that some stuff has gone on almost like in a science fiction way. It's kind of like just background details that are dropped. But most of it is in the American Southwest. A young woman who feels like her whole life is kind of fallen apart, runs away from her partner to go live with her aunt. Unfortunately, finds out her aunt is deceased, but she kind of gets taken in by all the people who live in this little town. But something is watching her. So it was a good story. I was rooting for everybody, and Grandma Billy in this, wonderful character. However, Hemlock and Silver, I think like this is a Snow White retelling, and I just didn't jive with it. And maybe it's because I'm not the target audience for a lot of fairy tale retelling things. And like I think the ones that I've enjoyed the most by Vernon were ones that I didn't recognize what the fairy tales were. Like I had no idea about A Sorceress Comes to Call until you guys explained it to me, actually. And I love that book. But Snow White, the thing with the apples and the evil stepmother and that, I don't know. So the most interesting thing about this book for me is that the main character is an expert in poisons, who she's basically asked by the king to come to like his country estate, except it's also the American Southwest, and and find out what is poisoning his surviving daughter. He has another daughter who is now dead. And it gets creepy, kind of, a little bit. And there are lots of mirrors involved. Like you read Snow White and it's like, oh, beware of the apples. This is beware of the mirrors. Like just cover all the mirrors in your house. So it was okay, but I kind of had to push myself to get through it, which is not my usual experience with T. Kingfisher novels. So yeah, probably not one I'll come back to, but I have a feeling I'll reread Snake Eater at some point because I really like that.
So of the two, which do you think is more likely to be on the Hugo shortlist? Because I think after like the whole kerfluffle with Adrian Tchaikovsky accepting 2 noms, I don't think Ursula Vernon would do that. So look who else is here.
Luke. Hello. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to guess Hemlock and Silver might edge out just because it's from Tor. It's from, one of the publishers that's really big, and people have been talking about it. I feel like Snake Eater, while it's quite good, it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. It's the last
also, it came out late in the year, and that never helps.
It came out late in the year, which doesn't help. And it's the third or fourth thing she's published this year as well. So the chances of people getting around to it, I don't know.
Renee also agrees that it will be Hemlock.
Yeah.
I want to say I have some predictions about the Hugo shortlist, and I think there are enough serious Hugo darlings who published books this year that it is possible that T. Kingfisher won't make the novel list at all.
It's possible. I'm somewhat dreading the shortlist next year because of the Hugo Darling problem.
We better get to reading and recommending things then.
I know, that's my plan.
I find it okay. Looking at, do we want to have this conversation now, or do we want to wait until
let's put a pin in it for now. Let's get through other stuff that we've read, and depending on how we're feeling, if we don't want to talk about highlights and lowlights, we can maybe do a look ahead to 2026.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna have some hot takes, but maybe on my predictions.
I also read 6 more volumes of Full Metal Alchemist, so I'm in the home stretch. I've got only 6 more to go, and I've got them checked out from the library. I'm getting to, of course, the second half of the series when big things happen in this world, and I've met General Armstrong, Olivier Mira Armstrong. Holy crap!
I love her. I love her so much.
I think she's been in maybe 3 volumes so far that I've read, and every time I see her, I'm like, I really hope she's a good person, because if she's evil, they're screwed.
She's one of the most interesting characters. Granted, the whole series is full of really interesting characters, but I think kind of the ambiguity around General Armstrong is just like, I feel like most of the people in the series, like, you know, kind of where they stand, and with her, you really don't. And I like that ambiguity.
Yeah. So it's getting interesting. I've also gotten to Van Hohenheim's backstory. So I was kind of right in my theory about what was going on with him and the homunculi. So I was kind of pleased with myself for that. But yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I'm going to try really, really hard to finish the series while I am on holiday vacation. So in the next week or so. And the last thing that I'll mention really quickly is I read The Book of More Delights by Ross Gay. Ross Gay is a poet and essayist. And I think his like kind of breakout book was The Book of Delights, which is an essay project where he like wrote down every day like a delight from that day. And this is part 2 of that, Another Year of Delights. I love these books. I don't really enjoy his poetry so much, mainly because it's just a style of poetry that I've never really gotten along with. I'm pretty picky about that. But his essays about delights and also recognizing undelights in life, I don't know. I really enjoy these, and whenever I've read his work, I come away thinking like we all need a little bit more gratitude for even the small things in our lives that we should notice more. So, kind of an inspirational thing to read, kind of little bits of wisdom, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I rated the first one like 5 stars, like it was that freaking good for me. This was 4.5 stars, I would say. So, would read more. And that is what I've read.
Nice.
Okay.
Kelsey, did you want to go next?
Yeah, I've got stuff to talk about. Hold on, I'm going to put the crafting aside for a bit. But I have 3 of these now cut out of the shirt, and I'm still liking this concept. I think this is going to be good because, like, look at that fun texture. Okay. So, where were we last month? I think the last thing.
The Pit of Despair.
Right?
I've been like seeing Princess Bride edits, and I rewatched it, and like the whole when the grandpa is like, "Oh yes, where were we?" The Pit of Despair.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just where my mind went.
Okay. So I've had some interesting reading. I think everything I have to talk about is either 2 or 3 stars. So let's start with the worst. The worst book, well, worst for me. I don't think it's a bad book, but I was so disappointed not to like The Grace Keepers by Kirsty Logan after having it on my TBR since literally 2016.
Ooh, that's always rough.
It was one of those books that like was talked about a lot, I think, on BookTube around the time I joined.
Yeah, I remember those days.
At the time, I think I was watching a number of channels that were more litfic channels from people with like folklore appreciation, as opposed to like fantasy channels from people with like folklore appreciation. So I had felt that this was really described to me as this whimsical fantasy novel. And it is like this fantasy dystopian drowned world thing. And we're following 2 characters, one of whom, they're both young women, one of whom is with a traveling circus that go around on boats from island to island, and she has like an act with a trained bear. And then the other one is a gracekeeper, which is like someone who does funerals at sea, and she's like stuck on this like house on the sea at the equator. And several things about this just really didn't work for me. First of all, I do think it's a book that has those like lit-fic mood vibes. Like it's an extremely moody book, and the mood and the vibe is sad people on boats. And it's just sad people on boats all book long. And and there's just a lot of stagnant failure of these people to do anything about the fact that they're sad on boats.
This sounds very lit-fic. Like
it's very lit-fic. And I felt like it had been described to me by people whose bar is like standard is more on the lit-fic side of things as something very fantasy. But my standard is more on the fantasy side. And to me, it felt very, very lit-fic. From like a speculative standpoint, like there is a little bit of this fabulous magic thing going on, people being born with like webbed hands and feet and gills. There is never really an explanation of how we got here from the present day, if it's the future of our world or if it's a secondary world. But it's definitely a world that like had land before some sort of climate change and the waters rose. But from a world building standpoint, like it is so weird to me that the only islands we visit in the book are these very like, I guess, Scottish inspired, because the author is Scottish and it's drawing on some Scottish folklore. But then Callanish, one of the protagonists who lives like at the equator, like we know this, that more of this world exists and there are great distances between these two places. And we never meet anyone in the book who is described as non-white. We never see any religion, like religion is a theme in the book, and the only two religions described are like the weird sci-fi Christianity religion and the weird sci-fi European paganism religion. And like, if you're going to do that, like just have it take place in a smaller space so we know like this is all Scotland, because it felt so obvious that we're missing so much of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing that I had felt I had been expecting from the reviews I had seen way back when is that it was going to be like a sapphic romance between these two characters. And I felt like it was only implied. It wasn't actually there on the page. They meet like near the beginning of the book and have some sort of connection, and then they think about each other a lot, and then they meet again right at the end. And then we see them in like the epilogue raising a baby together.
So it's
like
sapphic.
Yeah. And then like there's nothing, you know, these are the two main characters of the book, and we get other POVs, but like I thought the whole point of the book was going to be how these two characters relate to each other. And like, it might be, but they don't interact with each other very much. And there was also like, one of the main themes of the book is like pregnancy and motherhood in a way that isn't bad. I just didn't personally enjoy it. So I found that deeply disappointing. I gave it 2 stars. Oh no, I also have a 4-star book. So we'll get to the 4-star book at the end. So it's not all 2 and 3 stars. Okay. Working our way up. Sorry, I've got a mucus down the back of the throat. Situation. Can someone else talk for a bit while I
I can talk
about something?
Yeah, so I won't get it. So I read quite a bit. Looking at what I've read since, let's split it between. Actually, no, we'll just go in order. I did finish most of my Jane Austen reread for 2025. I read Northanger Abbey and Sense and Sensibility. I want to read like her fragments, and that might be like one of the last things I read this year. So like Lady Susan, the Watsons, and Sanditon. But it was nice revisiting Jane Austen this year, because it's been like, aside from Pride and Prejudice, like it's been at least 15 years since I had read most of them. And it was interesting to kind of see how my perspective changed. So like Northanger Abbey, I still really enjoyed. I think it definitely reads like she not as polished as her later work, because this was one of the first books that she sold, and she didn't get a chance to like really edit or rewrite it before she passed. So it was like published together with Persuasion by one of her brothers after she died. But I found it really funny. I kind of like how she was poking fun at, like, loving fun at novels and Gothic stories, and kind of like how heroines were expected to react. Like at one point, she's like, a typical heroine who had been spurned in love would be up all night crying. Catherine was not that. Catherine went to bed and slept peacefully. So yeah, I found it really funny. And then with Sense and Sensibility, that's one that did go down in my feelings. And I think part of it is that Marianne is just so much. And maybe it's the eldest sister in me, but like, it's just like, oh my God, girl, you are such a teenager. Please calm down.
Yeah.
But Willoughby's the fucking worst. Like, him and Wickham can have a worst off.
If you want to read about them getting what they deserve.
I mean, that I'm planning to next year, I think. Especially because the Tita Rosie series is winding down, and I need like a new mystery, aside from Detective Auntie, but I need a new mystery series.
There's a cover out for the new Detective Auntie.
I'm really excited for the second Detective Auntie book. Kelsey, do you want to switch back to you?
Yes, I can do that. Okay, so I realized that my library now has the new ebook editions of the Doctrine of Labyrinth series by Sarah Monette, who is also Catherine Addison, which was her debut series that's been long out of print, and it is back available in ebook edition. So I impulsively read the first 2 of those, even though there were other things I more pressingly need to read by the end of the year. I will say, have either of you read any of these books?
No,
Rhea is the one who really
Rhea has. Yeah. I feel like I need to talk about this with Rhea, and it's a pity they aren't here. I gave them both 3 stars, but my experience with these books has been that there are 2 protagonists, and with Mild May, I'm having like a 5-star experience, and with Felix, I'm having like a 1 or 2-star experience. And it's not that Felix is badly written. He's just an asshole. And like it's not a bad character study of a character who's an asshole. I just hate him.
Can you describe what the series is about? Because interestingly, these books are ones that Goodreads has been recommending to me for a decade now. I don't know why. It's just Goodreads thinks I should, but I don't know anything about them. In fact, Ray is the only person I've ever met who's like been like, oh yeah, I read them. So
okay, I will say they are very like thematically dark and shocking. Like there's a lot of really difficult content in them, especially in the first book, especially in the beginning. And I feel like it's wild how much, like this was her debut novel. And I feel like I've read so many bland debuts that are just trying to be marketable in the past however many years. It's like it's formulaic, it's marketable, it's palatable, nothing is surprising. This is a book where, first of all, the two protagonists, you have no idea what they have to do with each other until like over halfway through the book. Felix, you meet him at the beginning for like, I don't know, 5 pages, enough scenes to establish that he is an asshole before he gets like entrapped by his former master, horribly like drugged, tortured, raped, magically abused, and then driven insane.
Wow. Okay.
And he continues to suffer horribly. Oh, and framed for crimes he didn't commit. All of these things, he ends up like in an insane asylum for a significant portion of the book. Like his POV is bonkers to read because he is literally magically insane and not perceiving the world around him correctly.
And he's also an asshole that you don't like.
He is also an asshole that she made very clear that in like the 2 pages before this happens to him that you know not to like.
Wow. Okay.
And like, I am kind of in awe that she pulls this off at all because you know, I was hooked. I was reading it because she's a damn good writer and she can write a sentence.
Yeah.
The sentences are all very good.
Well, you're gonna have to finish the series and tell me what is going on with this crazy asshole because
he is a wizard, and you learn that like the guy who made him what he is a total asshole and probably villain, like a mustache twirling villain out to destroy the nation, and has probably like been planning to use him to destroy the nation this whole time without his knowledge. Anyways, that is the villain plot here. Is the like Felix's abusive mentor is out to destroy everything. The other protagonist is Mildmay, and he's a thief. He's like a professional cat burglar, and we also learned that he used to be an assassin. And he is the sympathetic character.
I'm getting a feel for what era of fantasy this was published
in.
in.
Exactly. It is very of its time. And I find Mildmay's storyline in both books to be far more compelling, far more sympathetic. he is like living in like the criminal underbelly of this city. And there's a part in this book that like hit really hard for me personally in 2025 America, where there starts to be this like indiscriminate police crackdown and the whole city is in fear. And it was well written and like heartbreaking and terrifying. And if you are wondering how these two characters connect to each other, it is a bit of a spoiler, but like halfway through the book, you figure out that they are brothers.
Oh,
they don't
okay.
know that each other exists.
Interesting.
So the number of people who like have tagged the first book as romance on Goodreads, I am like, please don't. This is the wrong.
No, you know those are people who tagged it that way after finishing it and were like, well, I know they're brothers,
well,
but still.
okay, Felix is enough of an asshole that like he is kind of lusting after his brother. But
wait, so this is also gay.
Felix is queer, Mildmay is not.
Okay.
Anyways.
Oh wow, I totally know what era of fantasy this is from. Okay.
It is I am feeling that it is a wild ride. It is a lot. Anyways, they end up on like the worst travel experience across a hostile nation together in the second half of the book. And then at the very end of book one, Felix gets his magical madness cured and goes back to being an asshole for the entirety of book two. I will keep reading.
Is this series like his redemption arc? I'm kind of hoping not. Like,
I don't know. We will see.
Okay. How many books are there? Is it a trilogy?
4. There are 4.
4. Quartet. Okay. Well, you need to read more so that we can talk about it in January and I can get an update.
And also, I
know that each of the last 2 books has an additional POV character, which I think is going to change things up quite a bit. So yeah, those 2 books were both 3-star reads for me, but not in like this is mediocre, this is unmemorable sort of 3-star read, as in like this is very high highs and very low lows.
Wow.
The one that was unfortunately a kind of mediocre 3-star read for me this month was How to Find a Nameless Fae by A.J. Lancaster, which is sort of fluffy, cute fairy tale retelling fantasy romance it sort of starts with the Rumpelstiltskin premise, except that's all backstory. It takes place 40 years after. And the premise is that Rumpelstiltskin asked, for his name to be returned to him, or he would take the firstborn child.
Mm-hmm.
Did not actually want the firstborn child. He wanted his name back. And when the miller's daughter could not give him his name back, he just didn't show up for the baby. And it's been 40 years, she's this cursed spinster princess. And her curse is getting worse because it's this like magical unfulfilled bargain. So she goes off looking for him. And romance ensues and they fall in love. And
What? What?
he's hot and he has cat ears.
I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
I told you it was a fantasy romance right at the beginning, did I not? Anyways, they have to find his name or she stays cursed. But this was just unmemorable, a little. It was doing things with like the trope of the magical bond between two people that there's very little you can do with that trope that I actually like in a romance. It's just sort of frustrating to me, all the ways that like they were obviously very cute together right when they met, like, and then all the miscommunication happens because they have this magical bond, and it's like, no, they only like me because of the magical bond that's making them feel that way. It was like, and then the last thing I read was The Incandescent by Emily Tesh, which I thought had some odd pacing, but otherwise I did like. The first like third of it, this is for anyone who isn't caught up on SFF releases, is a magic school book where the protagonist is the teacher who is the director of like the magic department at this English boarding school, magic school, that has like is under constant threat of demon attacks from like the demon realm. And she is very concerned with, you know, everything that it takes to keep the teenagers safe from all of the sort of stupid things that teenagers do while trying to learn magic. It feels to me, there are things where like I've never been a particular fan of magic school books, like magic boarding school books is a genre that I've never been that into. But, you know, it's definitely a book for like kids who grew up on those books and are now adults and are thinking, what the hell, where were the grown-ups in these books? Why were they not keeping the kids safe?
Yeah.
The first, like, I want to say a little more than a third of the book feels like it could have been a much shorter book or novella. Like it comes to an exciting, dramatic conclusion, and then the book just keeps going, and it takes a long time to figure out, like, what is this building to? Where is this going? Why are we still following this situation? And so that second chunk of the book felt very slow to me. I wasn't that hooked. It took a long time for me to get through, but I felt like the ending was appropriately climactic and dramatic. So I gave that 4 stars. That's everything I've read. I am currently reading 3 books. I'm once again participating in this group Goodreads challenge that I have specific books I need to hit for specific prompts by the end of the year, and I have 3 I need to finish, and I have started all 3 of these books. I need to finish them. I will probably be taking them all with me, these chunky hardcovers on an airplane. Mad Sisters of Essie by Tashan Mehta. Di, I think you just read this.
Yeah, I just finished that yesterday, so that I'm going to be talking about that one.
I'm reading it very slowly because I'm also trying to read 2 other books. Within the Sanctuary of Wings by Marie Brennan and East by Edith Patu. So these are the 3 I am trying to finish by the end of the year. I cannot let myself be distracted and read anything else. Ta-da!
Yay! Yeah, so let me pull up my Goodreads again. So I read shocking, I know, read a mix of SFF and nonfiction, aside from the Jane Austen books, since we last chatted. So let's see. I read The Mirrored Heavens by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the last book of Between Earth and Sky. And this is one, and this, I feel this way about the series as a whole. I overall enjoyed it, but I had some mixed feelings about it. Because, so book 2 was, for me, such a middle book, and it felt like a lot of place setting for things that happened in this book. So, like, getting everyone where they needed to be. And then in this book, there was just so much that happened where it feels like some of what happened in this book could have been, like, taken out and moved to book 2 to make it less of a middle book. And while I enjoyed most of the plot lines and resolutions, like Shiala and Serapio, and like what happened with Lord Balaam and kind of his unraveling throughout the book, I was really frustrated with Narampa's storyline because it felt a lot of like building up to something and then nothing really happened with it. And I kind of felt that way about Narampa in book 2 a little bit. And it feels like she didn't know what to do with that storyline, because I don't know if this was like something that happened while she was plotting or while she was writing, but the storyline moved to like be mostly about Shiala and Serapio and less about Narampa and the Crow Boy, whose name I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I feel like everything with like there was so much Narampa in my memory in the second book, and then it was just like, okay, that's not really important anymore to the end of the story.
Yeah, and I think
I was frustrated with her in the first book, and I didn't even keep reading the series.
Well, and I think there was some stuff that I felt like they were set, like she was getting set up to kind of have this climactic battle, like maybe not with Serapio, but maybe with Balaam, or like a confrontation with the gods, and we didn't really get that. And I think it also doesn't help that, like, and I don't know like what Roanhorse was doing with this, but it feels like an unfortunate trend with queer female characters where they don't necessarily get a happy ending. Like they get a sad or kind of middling ending. And I don't think that was something Roanhorse like was consciously trying to do, but it feels disappointing. So I gave it 4 stars. And like, I'm not disappointed the series won best series, but it is just frustrating that like it just feels like there was so much happening and there was this one storyline that feels very dead weight. Then moving on to a couple of nonfiction books, I read Owning the Sun, A People's History of Monopoly Medicine from Aspirin to COVID-19 Vaccines. And this was mostly because I needed like a nonfiction while I was doing chores. And this is by Alexander Zaitchik. And it's it feels almost like this person was like very Leverage-esque in terms of like talking about how society and like the laws are built to protect monopolies and like protect the rich and powerful. So it talks about kind of like the history of medicine patents and like patents in general. And it talks about like how the United States for a really long time was kind of an anomaly with patenting medicine and having companies like have control over like specific formulations, because it didn't used to be like that. And especially like in England and other parts of the country. And then it also talks about kind of the impacts of patents. This book does not pull bunches about Bill Gates kind of being a piece of shit when it comes to public health. So it was it was published, I think, in like 2023, 2024. So like when it was written was right when some of the COVID vaccines were being developed, and kind of the discussion around how do we distribute the vaccines? How do we make them like available more widely, and not just to the countries where just for people who can afford to pay for the patents. So it's definitely one where like it has a very specific point of view. I actually think it works really well with the Phantom Plague, How Tuberculosis Shaped History, because that book also talks about how patents with antibiotics are making it difficult for countries where there's really rampant tuberculosis, particularly tuberculosis that's resistant to the standard antibiotics, how it's making it difficult to treat people and how it's creating more tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
Then I read God's Perfect Child, Living and Dying in the Christian Science Church by Carolyn Fraser. So Carolyn Fraser, she's the one who wrote Murderland, which I read earlier this year. And one of the parts of that book that I thought were particularly well done was Fraser talking about her childhood and kind of talking about the inherent violence of Christian Science in terms of how you're supposed to ignore kind of physical pain. You're supposed to kind of work through it because bodies aren't real. Mind's the only thing that's real. And so this was her first book, and this was initially written in like 1992. And this, I think, I read the 20th anniversary edition, which includes a new afterword. And so this is a book that is part critical biography of Mary Baker Eddy, who was the founder of Christian Science, and then also talking about the evolution of the Christian Science Church and how its modern day incarnation. It was really interesting. So first, R.I.P. Mary Baker Eddy, you would have loved being a wellness grifter on TikTok. Reading her that section of the book is like, oh, she would have killed as a wellness grifter. Like, she would have been so great at it. Because like so much of it, because when she started, because she was born in like, I think the 1830s or the 1840s. And when she was an adult, there was this, there were some faith healing, but it was like mesmerism and magnets, because magnets were like the cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so like that's how she got involved in it. And then she kind of created her own thing. And it's really interesting because while faith healing was present, I feel like she codified it in a way that we're still seeing the impacts of now in present day. And then reading about how the church was set up and how they really targeted like people they perceived as enemies, and like were really strict over their image and the control and like controlling. It's very proto-Scientology. Like the Christian Science Church, like reading about it, it's like, oh, this is like what the Church of Scientology is doing now in terms of, having a specific arm that's all about like propaganda and like going after people who criticize the church or former members, keeping really tight control over like interpretations and making it so there's like no real kind of reflecting on Mary Baker Eddy's writing or like having modern interpretations of it, like infiltrating the government to get protections.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I will say like the darkest part of the book for me was when it starts talking about the dead children, because that is one, like, that is with these faith healing religions where they're very anti-modern medicine, it leads to dead children. Like, children will die from really preventable things like juvenile onset diabetes because they're not getting insulin. Appendicitis. Fraser writes that one of her friend's younger brother died because of a burst appendix. Sepsis, like basic childhood illnesses that if you have vaccines or if you go to a doctor to get treated, like, they won't kill you. And it's just so frustrating because one of the things that gets discussed is how the church really lobbied for protection. So, like, for child abuse laws, there's religious exemptions for medical neglect. So basically, parents can be criminally prosecuted if their child dies because they didn't take them to a doctor.
Wow.
So Oregon is actually one of the only states that doesn't have it because there was a Pentecostal sect out in Oregon City that, like, had so many dead babies that the state finally acted. But it's like but they just went over the border to Idaho, which, like, is fine with dead babies. So it's a very dense read. Like, there's just a lot of information. It's definitely dark, but I think it also is a really good kind of explainer into kind of how certain parts of the U.S. like the U.S. is the way it is.
We are the way we are because we normalized dead babies for religious reasons.
Among other things. Yeah.
That's bleak.
The other nonfiction book I read was slightly more cheerful. And that's The AI Con, How to Fight Big Tech's Hype and Create the Future We Want by Emily Bender and Alex Hanna. So these are two academics. One of them is at the University of Washington up in Seattle, and then the other one is at Berkeley. And it's a very short book. Like, the actual text, not including like all the endnotes, is a little less than 200 pages. So it's very much kind of like talking in broad terms about AI hype and then also the harms with AI, and kind of giving people a very general understanding of what's going on with AI. And so I think this would make a very good passive aggressive Christmas present to the AI evangelist in your life, or someone who identifies as AI curious. It definitely is a good starting point, because I have a friend who's been doing a lot of reading nonfiction about AI, and so I think this would be, she said that this would be a good starting point, and then something like Blood in the Machine or Empire of AI by Karen H. Howe would be kind of good next steps, because those go more in depth into AI and kind of fighting back against that. And then other stuff, I read The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. This is a debut Arabic-inspired fantasy that came out, I think, in 2022. And I enjoyed it. I think it was like a 3.5, 3.75 for me. It's following three characters. Luli, who is known as the Midnight Merchant, so she and her Jinn bodyguard, they have kind of like a father-daughter relationship. They collect relics and then sell them. And then you have this young prince who is the son of like the Sherazade type figure in the world, and the Sultan, and his mother has been killed by a Jinn, and so his father got like really overprotected and like kept him locked in the palace, and so he kind of escapes, and that's how he meets Luli, but he gets blackmailed by his older brother into doing something for his older brother. And then we have Aisha, who is a Jinn hunter who works with the eldest prince, and she gets assigned to escort Luli and the younger prince on this quest to find this magic lamp. And it has a bit of Amina al-Sarafi vibes in that they're on a quest to find this magical artifact. Mm-hmm. It definitely, like, some of the characters, it's like, okay, we get it. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really solid debut. I enjoyed the characters even when I got frustrated with them, and I definitely want to pick up the second book, which is The Ashfire King, which came out this year. And then I finally read The Witness for the Dead by Catherine Addison.
No spoilers.
This is the first Cemeteries of Amala.
I know.
Anyway, I finally read it. I enjoyed it. I do like a murder mystery. I will say that I think because of how short it is, some of the pacing felt a little off with the murder mystery, and I didn't get the type of denouement, like wind down that I like with mysteries. And this is like one of my complaints about the Tita Rosie series, where like everything happens and then it's like right in the final chapter. It's like, no, you need to give me some time to like process and see the characters process.
I will say, if I have like a lukewarm take about the Cemeteries of Amala series, I don't think they're structured like murder mysteries. Like, they contain detective storylines, but the books aren't structured like murder mysteries. And I feel like for me, that is a feature rather than a bug, but it's something that you have to, like, if you're going in expecting murder mystery pacing, you are going to be disappointed.
And I mean, I wasn't really going into it murder mystery expectation, but it's still kind of like my own thing where it's like, I do want a little bit of a wind down. I didn't get as much of a wind down as I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I think when I first started reading the series, I also was expecting it to be more typical mystery. And instead, it became much more the psychology of the main character and his burdens and stuff. So like I had to recalibrate like what I expected the whole shape of the story to be like. Sometimes I wish that they were a little bit more traditionally murder mystery, but didn't she write a book that was like that? What was it? It was basically like the Sherlock Holmes one.
I didn't read that one, Angel of the Crows. I didn't read that one.
Yeah. Which I would swear was maybe kind of inspired by Hound of the Baskervilles, because aren't they all? And while that one was more typical murder mystery, I didn't like it as much. So
yeah. And then the last book I read, Kelsey mentioned it, was Mad Sisters of Essie by Tashan Mehta. I listened to the audiobook and I finished it yesterday, and I think it's one where I want to reread it with my eyes, just because how some of it was formatted, I don't think translated great to an audiobook. But overall, I enjoyed it. It definitely reminded me a little bit of the Spear Cuts Through Water, in how it was a story about stories and how we tell stories and talk about stories. So the premise of the book is you have two sisters, Myung and Layla, who live in the Whale of Babel, and Layla can hear the whale, Myung can't, and Myung wants to kind of explore the world outside the whale, and so she leaves Layla behind, and then Myung is then trying to get back to her sister and starts following the story of the great Wisa, who is said to have created the whale, and she finds her way to this island that's being caretaken by this family called the Kilters, who are tied to the island. If they leave the island, they'll come back as like angry ghosts, essentially. I enjoyed it, but like I said, I think this one I might get more out of it reading with my eyes because of some of the formatting stuff. But one of the things I actually really liked about this book is you get like fake academic papers interspersed, and it's just really interesting seeing, like, hearing kind of like these academic papers about this world or about the stories of the world. And I really liked that. I kind of liked that embedded media component to books.
I like it when it's done well. Yeah.
I thought this one was done well.
Reading it right now, and the book I keep thinking of while reading it, and not just because of the magic space whale, is Radiance by Catherine M. Valenti.
Yeah, I can definitely see some of that as well.
It doesn't have as much of that like embedded media within media going on as Radiance did, but it does have a little of it. And sort of thematically, the way it's about myth making and the stories that make up our universe. Or I think it's not our universe. It's a...
Yeah, and yeah, because they describe space as the Black Sea, and space is more, it's more sci-fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, the comp title I keep thinking of is Radiance.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did like the audiobook and the audiobook narrator. And I would definitely, because the author's from India, so I would definitely be interested if more of her books get published in the States.
She has, I think, only one other novel, and it's available, I think, on Kindle, even though it hasn't been published in print in the US. I was looking at that.
But that's what I've read. I'm not currently reading anything because I finished my book, but I think I have some stuff I'm planning on listening to while I'm doing cleaning after this, and then also while I'm on vacation. I have a stack of books, some of which have been on my shelf for a very long time. So I'm hoping to either read or DNF those, and if I read them and don't like them or DNF them, I'm just going to leave them where I'm vacationing so other people can pick them up. Yeah. So did we want to talk about media? Did we want to talk about the latest SwiftWA blow up with AI? Did we want to talk about what we're looking forward to?
If you guys want to talk about SwiftWA and AI, please go ahead. I feel like my opinion is very repetitive and boring.
So for folks who didn't see it, SwiftWA, the science fiction fantasy writer of America, the professional organization for SFF authors, they had published their Nebula guidelines and included some stuff around AI, basically like anything where it was substantially written with AI would be disqualified. Anything that used AI in the writing process, so like editing or research or like maybe basic word generation, authors would have to disclose it. It would be like an asterisk if they got nominated, and shocking, there was pushback on it, and so there was quick backpedaling. And during this, it came out that Mary Robinette Kowal had used some AI-generated content in her latest Lady Astronaut book. So.
Has there been, like, has she followed up with a separate explanation of that?
Not that I've seen.
I've seen a bit of yes, but it was in reply to like someone who quote posted her post. So like she said that like she used it for maybe 2 of the chapter heading like fake news articles.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was maybe like 50 words total, if I'm remembering correctly. I would have to go look that up. Meanwhile, gosh, I'm having the worst time. I should have looked up what holly leaves looked like before I started trying to embroider one. I think I'm going to have to tear this all out and go with mistletoe instead because those are easier leaf shapes.
Oh no.
Just make them green and spiky.
It looks like a green pine cone.
Well, go with a green pine cone.
I think I'm just going to tear this out and do mistletoe instead. Wait,
Yeah,
I'm going to show you because I'm doing like a little bit of like sparkle on it. Actually, from a distance, that's not like if I can do a better leaf, I think it will be obvious that's holly. Wait, you can't see that at all, can you?
No.
It looks leaf shaped, though not holly shaped.
Wait. Where's my phone? I will turn on flashlight and then there will be light. You still can't see that, can you?
No, I think it's just too small to really pick up on the camera.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a photo of this and send it to you in the group chat, and you can tell me if this looks like holly or if I should just tear it out. I think this has been a good experiment in what not to do when just going for it.
I mean, if you've got a false start, you just learned something, and then it'll be better when you actually begin it. So,
but yeah, that's basically what happened. It was disappointing seeing that from Koal because like, and
I have a lot of thoughts that are more about awards rules and making them intelligible in a way that everyone understands the rules than it is about Mary Robinette Koal confessing to using AI in a book she wrote however long ago and swears she wouldn't do it again.
because I don't think that she is the only author involved in this discussion who
right. I don't think she would have said what she said if she thought she was. I think she thought she was probably speaking for a lot of people. First of all, I think it would be fine if that book was ineligible for the Nebulas because of 50 words of AI generated chapter headings. Like, she can take being ineligible for the Nebulas for a year, right?
Yeah.
Especially if she's saying she realizes it was a bad thing to do and she wouldn't do it again. Like, don't do it again. Be eligible for the Nebulas next time. Anyways, that's my salty little
when
of this.
When are they intending for this?
This is for the 2026, so next year's awards.
So things published in 2025, getting awards in 2026.
Yeah.
Because the thing I feel like my takeaway from MRK's part of this conversation is that, yeah, okay, the rule might be fine, but you have to agree on it. And what about a bunch of people who published things in 2025 that had no idea that this was going to be an issue? There was going to be a rule enacted about it. Wouldn't it make more sense to announce it now and be like, hey, this is going to go into effect beginning with things published in this year, and people have some forewarning? Because I think there are a lot of people like MRK who were writing something back in 2022 and 2023 and are now being caught up short, being like, well, this thing came out and I think it should be eligible for this award, but you're saying it can't because I was dumb and did an AI thing with 50 words 3 years ago.
But I mean, we're seeing that in
I-
other awards, like the Indie Game Awards. So they had given Expedition or Clair Obscur Expedition 33 their Game of the Year, and it turns out that not only because they had a really strict AI policy, it turns out that the studio had used like Gen AI placeholders in like some of the images in the game, and then patched it out, but then lied about it, and so they got the award revoked. So like we're
What?
seeing this,
Really? Okay.
so like we're seeing this in other fields, but I think at this point, like there has to be a line, like there has to be.
I think what both versions of the Nebula rules got wrong because they were clearly hasty and didn't think this through. The first version was just like anything wholly produced by large language models is not going to be eligible. But that clearly doesn't work because then you can just edit something a tiny bit and then claim because you change like one sentence that it's only partially generated by a large language model. Like it has to be stricter than that. The other, what they've done now is that they've said there are two parts of the rule. One is like, gosh, I can't remember the exact wording, and the exact wording does matter. Nothing wholly or partially generated by AI is meant to be eligible. And then there is this weird second part about using LLMs in any part of the writing process, and that is so freaking vague that people are genuinely concerned that, you know, doing a Google search might count as being part of the writing process because Google is using an LLM now. Any sort of thing that might be slipped into some piece of technology you were already using, because it is being shoved down all our throats. Mm-hmm. And it is increasingly difficult to opt out. And that's what it seemed like Mary Robinette Kowal was saying when she first responded to this was, you know, I used it in research. Mm-hmm. And research is part of writing, and like not wrong, but I feel like the only place you can reasonably draw a hard line where everyone will know what is meant to be eligible and what is meant to be not eligible. And they are completely relying on authors self-reporting.
I mean, they were doing that in the original, like they were doing that in the original.
Yes. Yeah. But because they are, everyone has to be able to understand what is meant by the rule and what needs to be self-reported. And I think the only place you can draw the line is like use of LLM generated text in the work. And I don't know why they didn't go with that and make it clear. I feel like they're going to have to continue to revise these rules because they backtracked so quickly without thinking through the rewrite of the rule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this was a series of unforced errors on like everyone's part. Like I think SWIFWA, I don't know who on the board decided that, or like who in the organization decided to make that policy. But I think they should have expected for that second part, there would be backlash given how many, like pretty much all their authors have been affected by the like LLM stealing their work. Mm-hmm. I do think the backtrack did cause confusion, but then Mary Robinette Kowal like could have just said like I used it for research, and people would have been like, okay, yeah, I mean maybe you shouldn't have done that, but whatever. But then it was just like it was like she was spiraling and kept saying stuff, and it's like, oh god.
I am ripping out. I did send you a photo of the Holly fail, but I am ripping it out. You have it immemorialized in your
Oh,
in the chat. It's gone now.
yeah. It was frustrating to see. And I feel like there was also people trying to assuage her. And it's like, no, like she did use LLM generated stuff in her work. Like,
to be fair, it was genuinely unclear when she posted what exactly she was trying to confess to.
And I don't think it was a confession so much as she was trying to give an actual example or like a what if scenario. And it just, the phrasing, because she was responding to somebody else, like she was having a conversation with somebody else. So it was just a bit blurry what was going on.
but yeah, did we want to talk about media or people watching anything? How they watched anything?
I have been these last 3 nights up like all night watching Japanese figure skating championships, and it finished up last night, and then I slept this morning. I just want to say the women's event was so incredible. Japan has so many just incredible skaters. It was if you told me a skating event of that caliber was the Olympics, I would have believed you, you know? And they can only send 3 of them to the Olympics, and it's heartbreaking.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing, you know, up all night on bootleg live streams of questionable origin, because it's not easy to watch Japanese TV in the United States. I don't know if you want any more like emotional feelings about Japanese nationals, but like a lot of skaters are retiring this season. It was Wakaba Higuchi's last nationals, maybe her last competition ever. She was injured earlier this season, so her Grand Prix events didn't go well, and it was heartbreak. And this went pretty well for her, but like not well enough to get her a spot at Olympics or Worlds or Four Continents. So this was probably her last competition, and it was emotional. Everyone cried. This was almost certainly Mai Mihara's last competition. It was emotional. Everyone cried. This is Kaori Sakamoto's last nationals, but she will be going to the Olympics. It was emotional. Everyone cried.
So many tears in figure skating.
There were good tears. It was mostly good tears today, last night, this morning, whatever time zone you were watching it in.
That's good.
But like good tears of the sort where like, honestly, you could send the top 10 skaters to the Olympics and they would be great. And they only get to send 3, and it's brutal. So we do know the Olympic team for Japan now. In the men's event, it's Yuma Kageyama, Shun Sato, and Kaomura. In the women's event, it is Kaori Sakamoto and Mone Chiba and Ami Nakai, it's Ami Nakai's first senior season, and she's been spectacular.
I wish it was possible to like see some of these performances, but yeah, it's
A bunch of them will be uploaded to YouTube, and I will share them.
will they be region locked again?
No, they won't be, because they will all be unofficial uploads.
Okay.
They might get taken down, but they won't be region locked.
We'll have to jump on those links fast then.
What about you, Rachel? Have you been watching anything?
I am now caught up on Slow Horses. I finished, is it the 5th or 4th season? I can't remember. I've been watching this with my parents for our Sunday night television, and we got horribly confused about how many seasons we had actually watched, and we're still not sure, was it 4 or was it 5? And anyway, so this is the show about the people who screw up badly enough in MI5 that they get sent to Slough House, but not so badly that they get fired outright. So they just sort of sit around and get berated by a really disgusting Gary Oldman about how terrible they are in hopes that they will quit. And instead, they like repeatedly save the country, although some of them die. So,
I have had this show described to me by normal people, and it did not sound nearly this entertaining.
Let's put it this way. Fart jokes never get old. I don't know why. Every season, my parents and I are looking at each other going like, why are we laughing at the fart jokes? Why is this so funny? So yeah, caught up on that. Can't wait for more. Very unlike most of the other stuff that I'm interested in, but that's what I watch with my parents. I've also seen the new Knives Out movie, Wake Up, a Dead Man. I watched that last weekend, and I quite enjoyed it. It's very long. It's like over 2 hours long. So I was kind of worried it would drag, but I was very into it. Also very different from the first two. So I think everybody's mileage may vary on that one, but yeah. It's also very Catholic coded. So I will enjoy talking to my mom about this later today, because I really want her opinion on it. So yeah, people following a religious fanatic doing terrible things, and Benoit Blanc shows up to declare that it's an unsolvable crime, except, you know, they got to solve it. So I liked it.
That's good.
Joe asked, I was just about to ask how it compares to the first. In my opinion, the first Knives Out is the best in pretty much every way. Like the plot, the characters, the casting, all of that was just fantastic. I think I might actually like Wake Up Dead Man more than Glass Onion. As in, like, I would like to rewatch Wake Up Dead Man to get more like the nuances and stuff. But I've seen Glass Onion twice, and I do not feel the need to ever come back to it unless I'm like really, really hankering for some Janelle Monáe, you know? So yeah, I would probably rank them as like Knives Out is the best, then Wake Up Dead Man, and then Glass Onion. But I don't know. I have not heard like many other people's opinions on it so far, so I'm curious what other people think who have watched all the movies. I'm a little worried like the series is going to be like diminishing returns. I don't know. I still want a fourth one. I also just bought Knives Out on DVD, Renee. I was like, I'm canceling all of my streaming subscriptions for the new year, and you know, I want to watch that movie again and again, so I bought it on DVD. I also bought Apothecary Diaries on DVD. Maybe it can't be on Netflix because it was an Amazon Prime thing originally.
It wasn't Prime. It was done independently, and then for the second two, he signed the Netflix deal.
Okay.
I saw both Wicked movies over Thanksgiving break, and I am very much a millennial, and I sang along because I watched the first one at home and then the second one in theaters. Definitely sang along to all the songs in the first one. I thought the second movie wasn't as good, and I didn't really like the new songs that much, and I'm kind of annoyed that both of them got nominated. Because I think it should have just
What,
been
really?
yeah, for the Golden Globe. I don't think they're that good.
I mean, literally the only thing I've heard about the second Wicked movie is that it is not as good and the original songs are disappointing. Like, that's all I've heard.
Well, and like Act 2 of like
Act
the
2 of
stage
Wicked
musical
has
good.
always been a problem.
Oh, okay.
I
Which
was
is why,
hoping
like,
that in splitting, I haven't seen the second movie yet, but like I was hoping that in splitting it up, they were giving themselves more time to fix Act 2.
No, they did not. Act 2 is what it is. Anyway, I have been watching the Mighty Nine animated series on Prime. That's Critical Role's second campaign that they've adapted, and I'm enjoying it. They've definitely changed quite a bit, and I'm interested to see how it impacts future seasons. There's just the season finale left, and there's a big event that happens in campaign 2, but I don't think they're going to do it in the season finale. I think they're saving it for season 2, but I don't know for certain. And I don't want to say what it is because it is a massive spoiler for the campaign. But given how they've been because one of the things, I love campaign 2, but campaign 2, like, the players were kind of running from the plot hooks that Matt was throwing out to them for so long. So they actually did need to kind of really condense and streamline stuff. So they have. So yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. And then Percy Jackson is back, so season 2. And I'm really enjoying it. The lighting, so much better. They actually paid for decent lighting. The lighting in season 1 was so bad. It was so hard to see certain scenes.
It feels like so many things, movies, TV shows, have had terrible lighting recently.
Well, so it looks better. I'm enjoying it so far. But it's only been 3 episodes. And then I've started my Pitt season 1 rewatch because season 2 is coming out starting the 1st of January, and the 8th of January, and I want to do a rewatch before season 2 starts.
I am so waffling back and forth on whether I want to watch The Pitt because I think it sounds amazing. I've heard only good things about it. But given the subject matter, and just that it's in like a hospital, I have no idea if it will be a little bit triggering for me, like in the way that, like, back in the day when I watched like lots of House, sometimes those episodes were not good for me.
Yeah, I will say that because it was like HBO first, they don't skimp on kind of the blood and stuff. So I would say, like, maybe check like a spoiler warning site and see like specific timestamps, or like see like what's in specific episodes. Like, I'm not too perturbed by it, but I also like don't watch it while I eat.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it for me media wise. So we have about 20 minutes left. Did we want to end early? Did we want to talk about
Did we want to have my hot takes on Hugo predictions?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Give us the hot takes.
Okay, so just thinking of how many books there were out this year that because the authors have been nominated before, the authors won before, people are predictably going to nominate them. Like, I think that like the pool of potential Hugo nominees is fairly predictable this year, and I feel like we're not going to see. I would love to be wrong. I would love to see surprises in Best Novel, but thinking about what we have that's been published this year, like last year we had a deficit of, I think, obvious Hugo novels.
Yeah, I think.
And we have a surfeit this year. We have
Two Scalzies.
We have
the new Old Man's War Scalzi.
I didn't realize there were two Scalzies.
There's two Scalzies this year.
We have two Scalzies. There is a new Tchaikovsky, right?
Yes,
There's always a new Tchaikovsky. Just like there's always a new Seanan McGuire. There's always a new Tchaikovsky.
I'm counting Catabasis as a front runner because people will want, like, a lot of people will have read it. A lot of people will want to nominate R.F. Kuang, even though people don't seem to be liking it as much.
I mean, it's on my to-read list.
I think I would be shocked if it doesn't make the Hugo shortlist. Last year's winner, The Tainted Cup, has a sequel. I think Drop of Corruption is gonna be in that mix. We have the two Kingfishers, but this is there's so many other books that I said I don't know if they'll make it, like The Incandescent.
Yeah.
Which I just read. I think that's gonna be a front runner. Queen Demon, we have Martha Wells. And like very easily the Hugo shortlist could comprise entirely of the books that we've just mentioned.
I think
I think John Wiswell, although people haven't been like as into his Wearing the Lion, I think that's a possibility considering people just really like him.
I've just seen so little about that book. But maybe
the thing about A Drop of Corruption is that the Tainted Cup made it on, but will those nominators return? It's a different electorate.
Yeah. Clearly people voted for it.
But I think, I mean, like, it was such a bad year.
On the ballot. It was a weird year, but
such a bad year for novels that were on the ballot. Like, it was always going to, at least in my opinion, it was always going to be between the Tainted Cup and Kingfisher.
I would still be shocked if the well-received sequel to last year's winner didn't make the shortlist. Personally.
I mean, I know I would nominate it. I think there might end up being more crossover with the people who really enjoyed it and maybe even discovered it from last year's Hugo Awards and coming back.
Right, because everyone who voted last year maybe read it because it was on the shortlist is eligible to nominate the next year. Wow, is Goodreads down right now? Is that what's going on? Is that why I can't load anything?
I'm able to access it on my app.
Okay. It is always so slow for me.
Because I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. My other hot take is in novella. I do think we will finally see a sort of break in the Tor.com domination this year, just because there are a number of really high profile novellas that were from other publishers this year. I haven't necessarily read them yet, but The Summer War by Naomi Novik was Del Rey. A Palace Near the Wind by Ai Jiang was Titan.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't read it.
And
I didn't finish reading it. I kind of tried and
what else am I blanking on? I need to bring up my Goodreads lists and
on the other hand, I mean,
loading.
there are other kind of two tour adjacent things that I expect to see. The latest Sworn Soldier novella by T. Kingfisher. And then
I do expect The River Has Roots will be nominated, and that's tour.
I would, if we're gonna get a tour, it should be The River Has Roots over.
But
I mean, I
do think there will still be tour.com books on the novella list, but I expect there will be like at least 2 that aren't.
Yeah. And then there's
which is almost like shocking. Orb of Kairado, I don't know if enough people will have read it because it was Subterranean Press, but I think it's got a Solaris release in the UK.
Wait, what is the original publication year of Orb of Kairado?
It was this year.
Yeah.
It was 2025. Wow. It's eligible.
Oh, wait, it was like really, really early in the year, wasn't it? Okay.
Yeah. And early in the year is a benefit. It's been out for longer. People can read it.
Yeah.
Audition for the Fox. That's one that I've heard good things about. That is that Tachyon?
No, I think that was Tor. No, that one was Tachyon.
Yeah, so there are high-profile novellas coming from other publishers this year, and I think we're going to see them. I think Tor.com is not going to dominate novella like they have the past few years, and I'm excited for it.
Was there anything from Neon Hemlock this year that was kind of a breakout?
I heard, I don't know if it was like breakthrough, but I've heard good things about some of their novellas. There's one by Dominic Dickey that I heard several people recommend. It was Redundancies and Potentials.
Okay.
I'm really behind on reading their novellas, so
I think it's going to be interesting to see how much the novel shortlist disappoints me. I'm kind of hoping it. I mean, I'm not really hoping this, but it potentially is going to be another situation where I'm like very disappointed in the novel shortlist, and then I'm like, oh my god, this YA shortlist. What is this? It's actually good.
I hope.
What I really want is for Margaret Owen's Little Thieves to be on the best series shortlist. I think we should all nominate it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, it's good.
I was gonna try to get to it, but I don't know if I will. I've been meaning to read those books since the first one came out, and now the series is done, and I need to read them. And I don't know if I'll read them by nominating.
All right. Anything else we want to chat about, or are we ready to wrap it up?
I think we're all ready to wrap up this year.
Yeah. I think my embroidery is not going to work until it has my undivided attention and I'm trying to live stream at the same time with literary opinions.
Yeah,
that was my problem. I think I was trying to multitask and I can't.
I got 2 little ears and 1 little arm made.
I made some progress, but it's like slow going for each row because it's like 300 stitches at this point. And it's lace, so it's not like, stocking out where it's just
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, where can people find you all?
On YouTube, on Blue Sky, on Mastodon, occasionally on TikTok, although not so much recently.
I will probably be unfindable anywhere online through the end of the year. So
Yeah.
see y'all in January.
Yeah, and you can mostly find me on Blue Sky. And yeah, we will be on Rachel's channel in January.
Oh, thank you for letting me know.
You're always after me. And Kelsey's always right before me, which means Rhea is after you, Rachel.
I should remember this, because I'm always in January. I do not remember.
I just remember mine because we always have the live stream my birthday month. So
how do I get February then?
fist fight Rachel for it, or fist fight Rhea for it.
But that's also their birthday month, so
Don't know what to tell you.
oh well.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
thank you all so much for joining us. Hope everyone has a peaceful end to the year and a good start to 2026. And we will see you in January.
Yep.